This is Qtv News and I am Jenna Basonko. Thank you for joining us. First, the main local and international news headlines. Following a recent outbreak of bird flu in Senegal, the Gambia temporarily bans the importation of poultry products. The Gambia has applied to the Gavi, the Global Alliance for Vaccine Initiative, for the COVAX facility, which will make 20% coverage of our population for the vaccination in the next couple of months. A 4-year-old girl diagnosed with a kidney disorder, sepsis and sickle cell disease needs urgent overseas treatment. A fire in Bakote has destroyed 3 apartments, leaving families homeless. In international news, yet another election has ended with cries of stolen election, this time in Ghana. We hear why the world's most famous hijab-wearing model has decided to walk away from her career. Those were the main headlines, and now the news in detail. Do stay with us. Thank you for joining us. Now the news in detail. The Gambia has temporarily banned the importation of poultry products into the country following the recent outbreak of bird flu H5N1 in Senegal, which has affected 100,000 birds. Ajibinto Drame has the rest of that.
The temporary ban was announced today at an Agriculture Ministry press conference through the Department of Livestock and the Ministry of Health through its Epidemiology and Disease Control Unit, the NDMA and the Department of Wildlife. The outbreak happened in the Chess region of Senegal, killing 58,000 birds in the 100,000-strong flock, with the remaining animals being culled. On Thursday, the World Organization for Animal Health reported the outbreak of the highly pathogenic bird flu on a poultry farm in Senegal. This flu is said to cause a highly infectious, severe respiratory disease in birds called avian influenza. Although the transmission of the virus is seemingly difficult between persons, nonetheless, when people do become infected, the mortality rate is about 60% according to the WHO. Dr. Amadou Cissé, the Director General of Department of Livestock Services, says strategies are on the way to fight the virus, adding that vigorous sensitization will be conducted, most especially in rural areas, which are vulnerable to this disease, as this is where the majority of our poultry farming is done. Dr. Cissé further explains the suspicious symptoms of the bird flu on birds. Adama Demba Job, the president of the Poultry Farmers Cooperative, talks about the economic impact if the virus was to hit the Gambia. He adds that farmers are ready to produce poultry products to the nation if the need arises. Most infections in people are associated with close contact with infected live or dead birds or H5N1 contaminated environments. Monitoring systems to curb the illegal trade in animals and a strategic animal control system should be put in place to avoid such a potential catastrophe. Thankfully, so far, there is no evidence that the disease can be spread to people if food is properly prepared and thoroughly. Ajibintu Drame, Qtv News.
The Gambia has applied to Gavi, the Global Alliance for Vaccine Initiative, for the COVAX facility, which will make 20% coverage of our population for vaccination in the couple of months to come. The Minister of Health made this announcement yesterday before the Select Committee on Health. QTV's Momodu Lamin Choi reports on the vaccine rollout plan the ministry has developed to vaccinate at least 70% of our population.
The global COVID-19 pandemic has reached a stage when every country is scrambling for vaccine as the most effective way to defeat the deadly virus. So far, 8 countries have bought the lion's share of the approved vaccines, making away with 53% of the vaccines currently available for the world's population. Developing countries such as the Gambia have applied for vaccine access through the COVAX facility, which is led by the World Health Organization and the Vaccine Alliance, Gavi.
We are happy to inform this August gathering of honorable members that the initial processes of engagement have started with the COVAX facility. Some documentation of demonstration of interest. No commitment yet, but the initial stages, which is by way of their procedure, has been started.
The COVAX facility has secured 600 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine for Africa. But this will only cover 10% of the continent's population by the end of 2021. The vaccines from the COVAX facility is not yet available for distribution to countries. But while the Gambia anticipates its 20% share from the COVAX facility, 400,000 of our population are targeted for the first rollout program.
Been in touch with them. The COVAX facility, what has been told to us is that they would be able to provide up to 20% coverage. That's 20% of our population will be covered, and then they will pay for that. Usually, they pay the chunk of this money, but most of the time they want a token as counterpart support. Because most of these international agencies, they don't want to just come and give us. They want to show government commitment, that government is also committed. But they are going to pay for most of those vaccines to be able to cover for 20% of our population, now, which is about 400,000 people. That's 20%.
With only enough for 20% coverage of our country's population, doses from the COVAX facility will not be enough for the country's over 2 million population. When it is available by the end of the second quarter of 2021, countries will administer the vaccines on a priority basis as a first strategy before wider, more general access in the future.
With regards to the high-risk groups, these are the vulnerable groups. We know the health workers are always there and their exposure level is high. And then we also know the people, the elderly. We also know people with comorbidities, diabetic patients, people with chronic obstructive airway diseases, and so on and so forth. So this will be categorized so that there is a good system. I can anticipate what probably could also be going in your mind. How do we go by this sixthly? Because when these things come, you can imagine, even before it comes, how the pressure people are going to get, who gets vaccinated and who doesn't. But I think we're going to have a good system, and we all stick by that.
Plans to vaccinate 70% of our population are on the way to meet the standards of effective vaccination coverage for the country. As there are still coverage gaps to meet this target, the Minister of Health informs the Health Select Committee about how government expects to meet the 70% target of vaccination coverage.
Now, fortunately, again, we've started engaging partners, and the World Bank has given indication that they will be able to help us to cover for those 40 to 50 percentage points so that we have that coverage. So this is what is happening.
Information about which of the world's few approved vaccines the Gambia will be administering is not available for now, as that will be decided by the country's partners and providers. However, as yet, what is certain is that agreements with partners and vaccine rollout programs in the Gambia will need mandatory approval of our National Committee on Immunization, plus some legislations that might also be required, according to the Ministry of Health. A similar development and quite the good news for the continent came from the African Union's chair, who on Wednesday announced securing an additional 270 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines for distributions across the continent. At least 50 million of the doses will be available for the crucial period of April to June 2021, according to Cyril Ramaphosa, South African president and current chair of the AU. There are indications of progress towards vaccinating the continent, and for this to be successful, preparing the minds of many of us that are filled and clouded with myths and conspiracy theories about vaccines must be part of the campaign towards defeating the virus. Mohamed Lamin Choi, Qtv News.
We will take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we will take a look at local and international news. Do stay tuned. Welcome back from that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is Qtv News. Now, a 4-year-old girl diagnosed with a kidney disorder, sepsis and sickle cell needs urgent overseas treatment. I visited the patient at home to understand her challenges and needs. Amisila has been battling 3 life-threatening health conditions from birth. Nephrotic syndrome, a kidney disorder that causes the body to pass too much protein in your urine. Sepsis, a condition that arises when the body's response to infection causes injury to its own tissues and organs. And sickle cell anemia, or sickle cell disease, a genetic disease of the red blood cells. Doctors say Ami now requires overseas treatment to survive these multiple conditions. And Ami's dad says he cannot afford his daughter's treatment even in the Gambia.
A lot of difficulty because now I'm down. I got nothing now. I have spent all the money I have got. Now things are not going well with me. And the business is very, very slow. I'm an industrial man, and now this year, no tourism. Nothing is happening in the country. So we all know the coffin. So it makes things to go down. So the business is not working as how I want. So which I have spent all.
He calls on the general public to support his daughter's treatment because no child deserves such pain.
Now we have tried our best. We can't do nothing. So now all we are looking for support from people by their help, and any kind of help we get from every person individual, whether by the company, in the government, and individuals also.
Amisila is one of the 750 million persons worldwide suffering from kidney disorder and the 48.9 million cases of sepsis cases worldwide. Don't hesitate to contact QTV if you wish to assist 4-year-old Amisila in her parents' quest to get her overseas treatment. 3 apartments in Backwater have been consumed by fire, with the victims losing more than $300,000 he was saving in his apartment.
The 3 families are left devastated, shocked, and left with nothing but the clothes they were wearing on the day of the fire. No one has been able to tell how the fire started, as the first they became aware was when they saw smoke coming out from the roof of the middle apartment. Fatumane, who said she has been sick for the past 2 months, said she was lying down when she saw smoke coming out from the roof.
Fonna si julu labang birumo mutadorong ngaje santo na armoro bala dimbabije o time wala mfuntita na bunkono no lota jang man na du no si siobe siare.
We were all concentrating on the other apartment, trying to put off the fire. On the whole, it has transferred to my apartment. When I came to fetch the last bucket, my ceiling was burning and I ran out of the room. I've been sick for the past 2 months, so I got weak and could not do anything.
Babukar Baji, who was occupying one of the apartments with his family, said they cannot really tell how the fire started, but call on the general public to support them in cash or kind, as they are left with nothing at the moment.
Service earlier, and they say they are coming. But still we are pouring water. The neighbors came, help us. We pour water. Then until the fire service came. All right, they came, they found almost the building is gone. But still they did some help. They start with their water. For about 2 seconds, they say the water is finished. So that means they did not come with enough water. Okay, this is how the fire is started. Still now, I'm figuring to see how the fire started. Or what has happened, we even don't know.
But, were you able to recover anything?
No, we don't recover anything. We don't recover, especially the house, the house where the fire started, because the tenant of the house was not here. So we were trying to help. So nothing came. I would appeal to them if anybody can make any support, because right now we only these clothes I'm putting on. That before the fire started, I was using these clothes, and then when the fire started, we could not have, nothing is out. Even my wife, only the clothes she is wearing. And the children, the clothes they went to school only. Their shoes, everything is burned.
The most affected victim is Edward Rogers, a Sierra Leonean, who said more than $300,000 was consumed by the fire.
This fire incident, I don't know nothing about this. I went to work. My wife also went to school, is selling breakfast in the school. My children also, they went to school. Except the only one, the one is supposed to be in school around, let me say, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday supposed to go to school. But he left here, he gave the key to the neighbor that is going to collect the younger kids to the other school. So as soon as when they discover that there is a fire, that's what the explanation they give us. But apart from that, I don't know nothing actually about this fire issue. I come, I meet the house was burned down. I don't see nothing that I can able to identify this one is my property. I was having a lot of money. You know, we have some people in Sierra Leone, they used to sell palm oil for us to sell it for them.
The three families are calling on the public and private sector and anyone who can support them to come to their aid at this trying time. Babu Karsi, Qtv News.
Now on to some international news. It seems 21st century elections are incomplete without claims of fraud or a challenge to the outcome. Ghana has become the latest country to join the trend. Adedrame tells us more.
Ghana's opposition have been as good as their word and lodged a legal challenge to the outcome of December's presidential election. Following a closely and at times bitterly fought campaign, incumbent Nana Akufo-Addo was declared winner by the National Electoral Commission. His defeated rival, himself a former president, immediately cried foul and indicated he would challenge the result. The result of the poll was slim, but decisive enough not to require a runoff. Ghana's Electoral Commission announced that President Akufo-Addo had polled 51.6% of the valid votes cast against former President John Mahama's 47.4%. In an echo of what transpired in the USA presidential poll, the opposition NDC claims it was a stolen election. Despite the court filing, there is already a break in opposition ranks, as some of the opposition party members believe the party should move on rather than lodge an expensive legal action they are not sure of winning. Elections being overturned in Africa are rare, though not unheard of. The most recent successful challenges being in Kenya in 2017 and Malawi in 2019. In the latter, incumbent Peter Mutharika was declared the winner. The opposition objected all the way to the Supreme Court, and in February 2020, the election result was annulled. The election had been dubbed the Tipex election, after correction fluid was used to alter some of the election results. The Supreme Court ruled there had been massive poll irregularities and prompting a fresh election, which Mutharika lost to Lazarus Chakwera. In Ghana, things are at an early stage, and it's far too early to call a result, as all observers wait to see the evidence produced by the opposition. At the end of the first day's proceedings, supporters and reporters converged outside the court for the latest update. For his part, President Akufo-Addo, who has already been sworn in for a second term, says he welcomes the legal challenge as it is a sign of the country's strong democracy and independent judiciary. It will be interesting to see if his views stay the same if he were to lose. For QTV News, I am Ade Darami.
The first hijab-wearing supermodel, Somali-born Alima Aden, shocked the world of high fashion a few months ago when she announced that she was walking away from the catwalk under industry. In an interview with the BBC, she explains how she took the decision. Momodou Mboj has the rest of it.
At only 23 and well on her way to taking over the fashion runway, as her compatriot Iman had done in a previous generation, Halima Aden quit her high-earning job, citing religious reasons for quitting. She tells BBC global religion reporter Sodoba Haidare, "My career was seemingly on top, but I was mentally not happy." As a hijab-wearing model, she tried at the beginning of her modeling career to retain some control over her clothing by negotiating contracts that made her hijab-wearing non-negotiable. Even when she signed with IMG, one of the biggest modeling agencies in the world, she added the clause. "There are girls who wanted to die for a modeling contract," she says, "but I was ready to walk away if it wasn't accepted." She negotiated a clause which guaranteed her a blocked-out box, allowing her to get dressed in the privacy of her own space. However, as time wore on, she began to have less time to spend with her family, especially during Ramadan and Eid. She began missing her prayers. Her hijab-wearing rule became stretched to breaking point as she began agreeing to head coverings she would have ruled out at the start. Having blazed the trail, she saw other hijab-wearing models follow her path, making her feel some responsibility towards them, protecting and watching out for their interests. However, the privileges she had were not extended to those who followed her, leading her to remark, "Oh my God, these girls are following in my footsteps, and I have opened the door to the lion's mouth." She shot to national fame in 2016 when she competed in the Miss USA beauty pageant, where she caught the attention of international fashion houses. She soon signed to the global modeling agency IMG and made her modeling debut at the New York Fashion Week in 2017, where she worked for Kanye West's Yeezy and Max Mara. She has also worked for Rihanna's Fenty Beauty and would go on to make history as the first hijab-wearing model on the cover of British Vogue, Sports Illustrated, and American women's beauty magazine Allure. She came to represent diversity and inclusion in the often Eurocentric and non-inclusive fashion houses in the West. In 2018, Halima became a UNICEF ambassador, focusing on raising awareness about children's rights. She visited the Kakuma camp in the same year to give a TED Talk, and to her dismay, things had not changed from what she had left behind. The children still sang and danced for visiting celebrities. She then concluded that UNICEF focused more on its brand than on children's education, quipping that "I could spell UNICEF when I couldn't spell my name." In commemoration of World Children's Day in November, she video called the kids in Kakuma and found it disheartening to see them in winter in the middle of a global pandemic. And after speaking to the kids, I had a breakthrough. I just decided I'm done with the NGO world using me for my beautiful story of courage and hope, she says. The COVID-19 pandemic has allowed her to spend quality time with her family and reflect on her career, giving her a new perspective. "I don't think the world needs me as a model or celebrity," she says. "It needs me as Halima from Kakuma, somebody who understands the true value of a penny and the true value of community." For QTV News, I am Momodou Mboj.
Now on to some sports news. Young Africans secured a point against Team Rhino in the GFF Second Division League, marking the return of competitive football in country since the coronavirus enforced shutdown in April 2020. Our sports reporter Mamudu Gajaga watched the game, and this is his report.
An attacking Team Rhino took the lead in the 14th minute through Abdoulaye Koli, who hauled himself to the ground to slide in and nicked the ball following a beautiful pass by Modou Lamine. Team Rhino's dominance continued for much of the game, but were wasteful in attack. Young Africans ensured a point in the last minute of the game. A penalty taking hit the crossbar. An incoming player volleyed in the rebound to the relief of the penalty taker and his team. Before that dramatic finale, several scoring chances were missed Abdullah Koli, who had a man-of-the-match performance for Team Rhino, could have made the headlines for scoring at least 2 goals and possibly a hat-trick. 3 minutes after putting his side in the lead, Koli had a fine run in the box, beating the defence, only to lay a pass to a teammate when he could and should have taken a shot. Another chance went begging on the half-hour mark when the same player beat the offside trap, appeared one-on-one with the goalkeeper, but had a heavy touch to the ball and the chance was gone. Even though one might imagine a sense of disappointment at the failure to convert all their chances and claim all 3 points, Team Rhino's coach Yunusa Baji says sharing the points with his opponents is fair.
Even in the dressing room, we tell them that if you are to draw this game or lose it, it's because of our own mistakes, because we have many chances, and that was the plan, to have many goals in the first half and then try to defend it during the second half. But I think it's a fair result having a draw. Yeah, our problem is to score more goals because it's a natural problem for the nation. But we will try to work hard on our scoring attack so that we can have many goals as time goes on.
Young Africans have been fighting for promotion to the top tier for the last 7 years without success. Could that change this season?
Yeah, I feel very happy because at least when you play your first game, if you cannot get the 3 points, at least you need a point to bounce back maybe in your next upcoming game. No, I'm not disappointed because in a game, every team get a chance. So they get their first chance and capitalize on it. But later in the second half, we also bounce back to get our equalizing goal in the 48th minute of the game. Our expectation is to be promoted to the first division, inshallah. Yeah, that's our expectation.
Even though football returned in the Gambia, it is not as we once knew it. Only team officials were allowed on the bench, while the substitutes sat in the stands wearing face masks in observance of the COVID-19 football protocols. Thankfully, what has not changed are the effort, skills and commitment of the players on the pitch. Mamudu Gajaga, Qtv News.
Before we end this news bulletin, let's take a quick look at our main stories. Following a recent outbreak of bad flu in Senegal, the Gambia has imposed a temporary ban on the importation of poultry products. The Gambia has applied to Gavi, the Global Alliance for Vaccine Initiative, for the COVAX facility, which will make 20% coverage of our population for vaccination in the next couple of months. A 4-year-old girl diagnosed with a kidney disorder, sepsis and sickle cell disease needs urgent overseas treatment. A fire in Bakote has destroyed 3 apartments, leaving families homeless. In international news, yet another election has ended with cries of stolen election, this time in Ghana. We heard why the world's most famous hijab-wearing model has decided to walk away from her career. Well, that is all we have for you in this edition of QTV News. Do join us tomorrow, same time for more news. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend ahead.